Hey, Gabriel, like,
Hey, Gabriel Jose.
where are we today?
I'm in foggy San Francisco.
And I'm in pretty warm Chicago. It was like the summer has actually arrived to both places.
I want it to be warm. I have a patio now.
Yeah, you should be enjoying it
Mm-hmm.
with the fog.
It's so cold out there.
Well, I'm looking forward to see it in person.
One
I
day.
have fun. Yeah. And while we wait for that day to come, what if it was this time?
This was my pick, and you're going to ask me why I picked this. I can't remember.
I do. I do
picked
remember why you picked it.
Christopher Nolan's very first film, a Sundance darling, called Following.
And I think that you picked it because of the conversation that we had about Primer, about like this movie was done with $7,000. So we actually checked what was the budget for Pi and Following, that they were like the first movie of two other like famous directors done with very low budget. And we wanted to check, as you were complaining so much about like it shows that it was done only with $7,000. You wanted to check if Following was so obvious that it was done with $6,000.
I now remember this conversation, and I also remember thinking I was a little bit worried that I had thought I had seen this movie, and maybe I hadn't. Turns out I've never seen Following.
Oh, you had never seen it, so you only watched Pi? Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's my track record with Christopher Nolan and my track record with Darren. So
That's true. That's true. So you already have an excuse for in case that you didn't like it? Okay.
yep, just setting things up as transparently as Christopher Nolan.
Okay, as this was your pick, I guess that I had to summarize it. This movie is like what, like 30 years old? Almost. It's from 98.
Yep.
So it's like 25 years old. So I may give away some stuff, but I'm going to summarize it the easier way that I can. It's a noir movie. Yeah. It's basically like the most standard kind of noir movie. Is like the story follows this guy that is like pretty bored with his life, and he starts like following random people. He does it like as a way of spending time, just like diving into the life of others. But that doesn't matter like too much, because at some point, like 5 minutes into the movie, he connects with someone that does a similar thing, but for stealing from other people. So he gets entangled with some kind of love triangle, like with a woman in a club that he starts following, then they steal from her, and then he starts like just having some kind of affair with her, and she's
Also,
supposed
most of
to
the
be
characters don't have names. It's like the blonde woman, the young man, the bald.
well, the thing is that they don't have name in the if you check like the cast per se, but in the movie they do have names. They may be fake names, but they
Yes,
say this is my name.
Yes.
So for me, that felt like a bit more. It's like, dude, you're being a bit pretentious here, or at least you are not being coherent with what you are displaying on the screen. Because we have seen like shows and movies that they make an effort for not giving a name. You know, like Fleabag, for example.
In the late 90s, that did it much better. I thought you were referencing Fight Club. I'm sorry, that's a movie that did the name.
That's true. That's true. Well, that's true. But it's still like when I walk away, I always think it's like, oh yeah, he's Tyler Durden. But yeah, that's about. But go ahead.
No. Keep going. Is there more synopsis? Because I feel like you were succinct.
Well, no, I'm just going to say that is like this woman that he gets entangled with is like the ex-girlfriend of a mafia head. You know, they has like some clubs around London, and then he agrees to steal for her without realizing that he was being, spoiler alert, set up by the thief that he's no longer working with, but he was like manipulating him for doing this work for him and just leaving his, I don't know, like fingerprints around so police can detain him for a crime that it was going to be like put on the head of the thief. And that's pretty much it. It's a pretty standard femme fatale playing, like, I don't know how to say, like, twists kind of noir movie.
Yeah, you can definitely see the place Christopher Nolan wants to grow into, and he did. This whole like twist, turn. There's another act. You didn't think there was another act. This person betrayed this person, and then the whole world is pulled out from under you. It was an interesting film. I don't think it's bad, and I forgot we wanted to discuss the impact of a budget. I will say that this was a good example of not feeling a small budget to me. Compared absolutely to Primer, this felt like a high budget film.
I have to disagree. I see your point, but I have to disagree. And this is something that I was watching with my boyfriend, and he was saying, yeah, this is way better. He's like, dude, the only difference is that the guy from Primer, he went with his friends to shoot this movie. This guy, he was probably like standing in front of a theater, like just like checking, or a theater school for just like getting 3 actors from there. They're pretty bad.
It was interesting that he made the actors rehearse the scenes so many times because they had to be perfect because they couldn't afford any more 16mm film.
But it feels like so forced. All of the acting is like there is no like naturality come from this. Is that I felt like it was way more natural in Primer. Is that for me? Is that, dude, this is like over rehearsed. The other one is broken. I agree, but it's that this is over rehearsed.
I think you hit the nail on the proverbial head with a hammer. That's an idiom, right?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
You hit the nail on the head. Yeah, these are theater actors. In fact, before we started recording, I wanted to look up what else the actor who had played Cobb did on IMDb. He has absolutely nothing. He has 1 credit as acting, and this is it, because he's a theater actor. And yeah, they do act in that way that theater actors do, and sometimes it drives me insane, like, fuck you, the whale, make me sit through your 1-room play. No.
Yeah. I mean, the funny thing is, like, we love movies that they feel like they could be a theater play. But this one... I could be wrong,
but I think what we love about that is that the entire film relies on the dialogue. Because it's not about changing scenes, it's not about action, it's just people talking. And typically, those people are either smart or emotionally broken. And that's entertaining. These people were boring.
Yeah. Okay, that's a better way of putting it. It's like the dialogue feels like something that you can condense into a theater play. This is like, I'm going to be like putting theater actors, I'm going to be like putting only 3 apartments or 3 locations, let's just say, and I'm going to be like making a movie with it. But for me, as you were saying, is like this was okay to mediocre noir movie. You can see that, for example, like from the editing perspective, you realize that how do you say that this comes from Nolan. You see like some elements about like, hey, I don't want to put it like chronologically order. I want to confuse the audience. I want them to present like a puzzle, and actually in the shape of a noir story. But I also think that Primer was trying to present a puzzle, but I felt like the puzzle was more complex on Primer than on this. On this just felt it's like, look, the story that you're telling me is like a noir movie that I've seen like 10 times, and the only thing that I have to pay attention to is like, does the main character has long or short hair? If he has like short hair, does he have like any kind of bruises or not? And then I can order on my head. It's a 70-minute movie.
So I want to be careful not to just get into, from my end, a comparison between the 2 movies. Yes, the science in Primer was infinitely, that was almost a pun, infinitely more interesting. But this, I think it's exactly what you're saying. He's interested in presenting a straightforward story in a very not straightforward way. And if you took Following and was like, hey, do you want $500 million and a great cast? You can make Inception. Like, you can see how he went from this to that. Well, and I do think there's a place in mainstream cinema for Christopher Nolan's, but this is not.
Yeah.
interesting, and it doesn't show promise of a director that I hope to find interesting.
I would say that you can see Memento on this. And Memento is like, from an editing perspective, is way more interesting.
Well, I completely agree, and I thought this guy must have seen Memento. But like, there was a lot of cool shit happening in American cinema, and I know this isn't American, but like in those VCR.
Just quick thing is that you said like this guy must have seen Memento. It's like it's the same guy. Yeah, it's 2 years later.
Yeah. Sorry, I know that, but what I'm saying is like I was trying to be like, there's so much of Fincher in here, and there's, in my opinion, it feels like he did see that musical you just made me watch, the gangster musical.
What, the Cotton Club?
Yes.
But that's not. That's
But
like
just
a
the
Coppola.
bosses hanging out. Yeah. I'm saying it feels like this is an amalgamation of what was interesting in filmmaking in the 90s. And he was on the cusp of it. And I'm not sure what to attribute to him being an original thinker and original filmmaker versus maybe he just saw Reservoir Dogs at Sundance 5 years earlier and he's like,
Oh, do you see like the poster? Did you see like the posters that they had in the room? I just felt like, dude, I feel a bit infuriated about this because it almost feels like Christopher Nolan took like those like photograms that he had in his wall. Or it's like, I'm so interesting with my taste is that you can see the signing, Reservoir Dogs. I don't remember like what else was in there that I remember like just recognizing like most of it and says that I feel uncomfortable with this, honestly. Because if he's a writer, he doesn't need it.
But he's just a...
Like the main character is a writer. What does that... What is the point?
Quentin Tarantino, but a little less talented, a lot less talented. But he comes from that school of VCR directors that they just see a style and they recreate it, and it has various levels of value culturally or to the film world. And I think Christopher Nolan just he's just too mainstream to add to that. But he did come out of an interesting time.
Yeah. I could say that what I think that is the value that Christopher Nolan has is that he doesn't do movies, he does puzzles. He presents like a game for the audience about like, I'm going to be like giving you rules and then I'm going to be like bending them in different directions. That's the reason why I'm connecting with Primer, because I think that the director, what he did is like, for me, it's not about a movie, it's not about like the personal tension in here. It's a bit more about like presenting you sci-fi rules and then just seeing how far can I take them and if you come along for this trip. Is that Nolan, if you even think about like The Prestige, that I think that is like the one that I like the most, is like it's also rules, it's like mini games that they present to the audience. And this is the same thing, and it's like I feel like the story behind is pretty weak.
It is a very weak story. And while I believe there's an underworld that has more intrigue in real life than I've ever seen, nobody is that smart and plans like a hit on somebody and was like, hey, I'm going to get a random person involved so I can frame him for the murder of this person that needs to be murdered. Yeah.
It felt like a bit far-fetched, you know, and it's a movie, I know, and it tries to be like a noir, almost like from the 30s or 40s, you know, but it's like...
I don't know why I had this thought, but the entire time, well, towards the end, I was like, I wish I had seen Leos Carax.
That shoot is a random match made in heaven, hell, I don't know. What would Leo Carax would have done? I mean, it would have been like visually appealing.
And it would have been super interesting, and there would have been the arts.
Yeah, it would have been like artistic, and probably would have been made any kind of sense, like Bad Blood.
I guess that's saying that this film did make sense, which it did. It did tie things up into a satisfying bow, which I do think is important for a noir film. That's the point of a noir film.
Yeah, like having that kind of unhappy ending, you know, and like the good guys, or at least like morally okay guys, like being pulled into something that is terrible. I
have to say this is about exactly what I expected. in terms of there's something there, but nothing that piques my interest too much. And now I'm very curious to rewatch. I'm not going to make you, but I want to rewatch Pi to see if I was just impressed by that film as like a 26-year-old.
Pi may be more interesting, at least like from a visual perspective. I don't think that there is anything that interesting here from a visual perspective.
No, I think it's closer to Primer also in the whole conspiracy theory, the name of God, the stock market, all of that stuff. But
Pi to a Primer. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm saying Pi is closer to Primer than it is to.
I agree on that. I think that there is a bit of a deeper kind of idea in here.
Kind of like Mother. Like you could tell there was a lot of depth and meaning behind each of the scenes.
You mean the movie that he wrote in a single night? That movie?
Kind of like when God inspired Handel's Messiah and he wrote it in a single night.
Let's just say that sometimes that can work. That was not one of the times that it worked. Because what a train wreck. What a train wreck of a movie. Should we go over the questions?
Yes, let's do it.
Alright, so this is following. Would you watch it again?
I would not, but it did make me want to watch The Servant again.
What? The Servant?
Kind of that black and white, shitty British people doing shitty things to other shitty British people.
Sure. I mean, I think that The Servant is like a way better movie than this, but...
Yeah, that's what I mean. It was like, I want a movie that feels like this, but it's better.
Okay, that's fair. I mean, I don't think that it feels exactly like that, but it's British. I give you that. It's British and in black and white. You are right. It has like a lot in common. Yeah.
It's foreign.
Yeah. I wouldn't watch it again. Honestly, it's not that I will actively avoid it, but I don't think that I will be getting anything else if I watch it again.
Same.
So, would you recommend it?
No.
I wouldn't recommend it either. It's more like if someone asked me about like a Christopher Nolan movie, this is probably one of the last ones that I could bring up.
The only one I would actively recommend is Memento. And it's been 10 years since I've seen Memento, so maybe not even that.
Dude, the thing is, like, I had a feeling that I watched all of his movies. Yeah, I even watched Insomnia. That movie was not that good.
Sounds like you're a Nolan fan.
I think that I'm more of a hater, but I think that I enjoy hating him. You know, I like actively pursuing. But Lars, I can have like the part of I hate to love him for some of the movies.
All right, that's fair.
But it's like with this guy, with this guy, it's like I honestly don't know why I will love it. I remember like the first time when we watched The Dark Knight, I remember just leaving and saying, I think that this was not that good.
It was a really good movie until the barge, the final act.
Yeah. For me, it was a bit more is that this is everything pretty far-fetched, even for a comic movie. Like all of the sequence of things that they follow each other, you know, for just like driving to this. If I'm like, okay, this is a bit of I don't know. The script could have been better. And I remember when I went to watch Inception, I also left like with the idea of this was like a nice visual spectacle, but I don't think that it was that good.
Yeah, after Inception, I was like, okay, this guy is not my taste. I can't sit through another 3-hour puzzle again. Yeah. I don't care about any of the outcomes.
I could say that Dunkirk is good. A friend of mine, he has the theory that Christopher Nolan cannot write female characters. He's incapable of. And Dunkirk is his best movie because there is only one line that it comes from a woman, from a nurse in a ship that is like just being sink.
Hey, the space bimbo is in Interstellar and she's pretty good.
I think that is one of the movies where I think about like, hey, she's a space bimbo. And she was like, I think that it was the same year as The Martian. So she was at the same time in Interstellar and The Martian.
And pretty close to that time, she was in Take Shelter.
Oh my god! Yeah.
Also, Ellen Burstyn is in Interstellar. I don't remember her, but you might remember her from Requiem for a Dream.
Oh, is the mother?
Yep, the one that gets addicted to diet pills and wants to be on the game show. Jared Leto's mother or grandmother in it. I don't remember which one.
Oh, this woman, Ellen Burstyn?
Yeah, she plays his. I think it's his mom. Yeah, because that movie was like 30 years ago. Oh.
Okay. All right. In any case, let's go back to the questions.
Right.
Would you remember following?
I think so, actually. I mean, I'm not going to remember the twists, but overall, I'll remember the basics. That it's mafia hits, twists, turns, blah blah blah.
I won't remember it. I honestly think that it was like partially mixing it with Pi, because I don't remember that. Hey, this is someone that is following other people, and then weird stuff starts to happen, and it's like, no, this is a completely grounded in reality movie.
Yep.
There is nothing like that. So if I didn't remember from the last 25 years, no, it was this like after Memento, so probably like 2002, so 21 years or so. I don't think that I'm going to remember it.
That's fair.
Like in 6 months. Is there anything artistic about it?
Nothing stands out, no. That being said, for a first-time feature-length film, there's some assured direction there, but I wouldn't call it artistic direction, no. It's just like, it's satisfactory.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. I think that if the editing was pushed like farther, as he did in Memento, I could actually see that as an artistic work. But in here, I think that everything is like super conventional. This is what I would expect of someone. And I don't know if Christopher Nolan was like classically trained. If he went to college for filmmaking. But it's exactly what I would expect of someone that it comes from that.
I agree, and now I'm actually very curious to know if he studied, because I kept calling him one of those VCR directors, the School of VCR, whatever. His films have made $5 billion.
Oh no! After studying English literature at University College London, he made several short films. And his feature looking, yeah. Yeah. Okay. Interesting that he was not like classically trained, but I don't think that there is anything that I would have called artistic. Probably for Pi, I could say yes, but for this, from what I remember, but I remember very little too. Is following a timeless piece?
Yes, in that it will be perceived to have the same level of importance at any age.
I agree. It's from the perspective that is like, hey, this feels 100%, as I was saying earlier, like a noir movie from the 40s. It already felt like out of time at the point that it was released. So.
It really did feel like a movie that came out of the 50s, 60s, even 40s, yeah.
But yeah. So, would you turn this into a TV show?
No.
Yeah, no. I think that this is 1 hour and 12 minutes or 15 minutes.
This is actually an interesting one. I think they could turn this into a mediocre TV show. Would I recommend it? No.
I don't even know where would I stretch the story for this to be an interesting TV show.
Oh, they could have gone deep into the bald guy. Why was the blonde lady involved with the bald guy? What did she do when she worked for him? Why did they murder someone in her apartment? Who owns the club they go to? I mean, they could really build out this underworld. Maybe I do think it could be turned into a TV show. No.
I mean, No. uh, I'm not sure. Honestly, I feel like if you were going to develop all of these, like the best result that it could come out of it, it could be Blue Velvet.
As a TV show?
No, I mean like the best thing that they could come up with is like something like Blue Velvet.
Oh, I see.
I feel. And it's like, and this guy was not going to be like pulling a Blue Velvet out of his head.
No, he has nothing that original inside him, I think.
So, would you still go with no or yes?
No.
Okay.
I will still go with no.
Thank you. Cool following being a sort.
Yep.
As we say with Primer, is that you just remove 15 minutes and that's it.
Yeah, no, this could have been 20 minutes. Well, this could have been a tight 30, I think.
Yeah, I think so. I think that actually is, as it may work a bit better with 30 minutes only, but you may have to sacrifice like the time, like not completely sorted by time, kind of thing.
I would also like to see a Celine Dion Goes Boating version where it's just 3 hours of them mumbling to themselves and hearing voices.
What?
Don't you remember in Celine Dion Goes Boating? Celine, what is the real name?
Celine and Julie Go Boating.
Celine and Julie Go Boating. How it gets all metaphysical at the end, or I don't even remember if it's the end.
I don't remember that part, dude. It was 3 hours. I remember like only very specific scenes of that movie. Do you think that following could have been better?
Yeah. There's a lot of places like a better script. The acting didn't bother me. The directing didn't bother me. But yes, this could have been better. A lot better.
I agree. I think that, or the script like being more interesting, like the characters more interesting, or being a sort and removing like half of it, maybe would have been a better result. But whatever. It's just like a standard noir. Cool. So we score this.
Yes.
As this was your pick, I think that I have to score it first.
Yes. Tell me what's your score.
I have to say that during the conversation, I went down a notch, and I'm going to go with 5.5.
That is exactly my score. It's a little more interesting than normal, but
yeah. I mean, for me, it's not, as I told you, like 5 is mediocre. Is that you don't want to get a 5. 6 is okay. And for me, it's not that it's bad per se, but it's like so generic, forgettable, unimportant that I cannot give it even like an okay. It's just like a bit below.
Well, now I kind of want to reduce my score, but I'll go with a 5.5. It's fine.
Okay, that's fair. Cool. And as this was a pick, I had to choose what comes next. And I already told you this earlier, that I think that is like one of the first movies that I told you that we had to watch like years and years ago, that I really liked, like the first time that I watched it, like 20 years or 25 years ago, from Kinky Duke, 3 Iron. And the reason why I go with this is because in my brain, this movie was all about following strangers. And 3 Iron is about someone that gets in the life of strangers.
All right, I'm excited. I've liked everything you've shown me by Kinky Duke.
So one movie.
Yes. Yes, exactly one. You have a 100% track record with it.
Let's hope that I don't screw it up this time. Hey, man. Anything else to say about following?
No, sir.
Mm-hmm. Then to everyone out there listening to us, thank you so much.
Wash your hands.
Okay, bye.